Well, today is day one of our 40 days, and if you are new, if you're visiting, this is your first time, you're welcome to join in and to be a part of this. What the strategy is or the purpose of it is that it's 40 days. It's around 6 different rhythms or practices that have been ancient. They've been around forever, and they're practices that help connect you to God. Because if you want to be like Jesus, you have to be with Jesus. You got to spend time with him. You got to let him rub off on you. You got to. We tell our kids that you got to, surround yourself with people, with good friends. If you want to be like Jesus, you have to be with Jesus. So today is day one of this, and we're going to go 40 days and praying that God would move our hearts. I was with a pastor friend of mine a little over a week ago. Someone in this area is a pastor, and I have deep respect for him. We've been friends for some time, and as we were talking, I asked him, I said, when you approach God, like when you relate to God, when you think about God, do you see him more as a God of love or a God that's holy? You say, well, can he be both? He is both. He's completely both. But in our human orientation towards God, we can have a tendency to see God and be moved by his love or more than his holiness, or his holiness more than his love. And it seems like, I'm just through my life and people that I've been around, people have a different orientation towards God, and one is greater than the other. He gave me his answer, then he asked me what mine was, and I told him that mine had always been a God that's holy, meaning that there's a God that's set apart, different than everybody else, no one like him. And so he has this authority that is unique to anything else in creation. And if he says something, then it goes because he's God and I'm not. I see him as holy. Now, it's not that I don't approach God and see God as love. I'm moved by songs that talk about the love of God. I know there's scriptures talk about God demonstrates his love for us, that while we were yet sinners, he died for us. But yet when it comes, it always has been like this, even since a little child, that my approach to him is, man, you are God, and there's no one like you, and you say it and we do it. We bend the will. You're the creator, I'm the creation, and that's just how I approach or relate to God. And if he says to do something and I don't understand it, even if I don't want to do it, my approach is, well, you know better because you're God, because you're holy, you're set apart, you're different than all of the rest. And in that approach, it includes that he's all wise, and that wisdom is not just, it's just not doing something good. It's the right way. Wisdom is the right way. Proverbs 3:19 says that the Lord by wisdom founded the earth. That God by wisdom founded the earth. It means that he established it. The Hebrew word actually means established. He fixed the earth by wisdom. He fixed the earth by wisdom. He established the earth by wisdom. He founded the earth. By understanding, he established the heavens. By his knowledge, the deep broke open, and the clouds dropped down the dew. So it says that the Lord formed the earth via or through wisdom, that wisdom was right there, that every part of creation screams the wisdom of God. Every part of creation screams the glory of God. Like, what David say, the heavens declare the glory of God, the skies proclaim or shout his goodness or his glory. And we know that to be true. Or you've seen a sunset or a mountain range or a beach or something, stars that left you in awe. It reminded you of God. I was on the East Coast earlier this week, and just driving some of those vistas and the views and the fields and the clouds with the sun and how it all came through. It's like, God, you're amazing. You're incredible. It screams who you are. And it's on the macro side as well as the micro side. It's like the macro side, we look at galaxies. And I don't even, try to pretend to know a lot about these things. But like, we're in the Milky Way galaxy with over, I think, 200 billion stars. And we don't even relate, right? We sit here and go, wow, that's big. But we can't relate to that. But to know that we're just one galaxy like that out of 100 billion more galaxies. So on a macro level, we see, wow, God, you had to have wisdom to make these things work together. And all of those stars in that galaxy is held together, kept together by gravity. And we're like, wow, this blows my mind. But it's not on the macro side. It's also on the micro side. Like a microscopic things, like a cell. And you look at a cell, and it's all self-contained and, microscopic, but yet it has things inside of it, like mitochondria and RNA and DNA and all these ribonucleic acids or something like that. Don't fact check me there. I know that was wrong, but it was close. But it's got things like that in it. And then you have atoms. And so those things scream that there is a creator, and in this creation, there was a wisdom, because you don't just get those things by accident. There's no possible way. And while creation, the tangible things that we see and feel and touch and all those, they scream that the glory of God, or there's the wisdom of God, there's also the rhythms of creation and how God created things, the way he went about to give us structure that also screams wisdom, even though we rarely recognize that there's wisdom in the ways that he has set up cycles and rhythms and structure in which all of creation exists within and operates and functions. And the reason why is because the Lord, by wisdom, founded the earth. It's like on the fourth day in Genesis 1:14, it says, and God said, let there be lights in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from night. So you have this physical, like lights, a moon and a sun, and it helps separate the day from the night, and them to be signs and for seasons and for days and for years. So these elements that we know of, they're set and they're in these rhythms. God has purposely arranged the rhythms and the cycles. Like there's days and there's weeks and there's years and there's seasons, and they're repetitive, they're cyclic. And God established that or fixed that. Therefore, I believe that God did it from wisdom. Wisdom was right there. He did it because it was just the right thing to do. He purposely arranged the rhythms. And this isn't just smart. This isn't just having knowledge. It's wise. And wisdom is greater than just having knowledge. I mean, building an airplane takes knowledge. I was on one yesterday, and, I'm amazed again that we can even do what we're doing, and we can fly. It blows my mind. It's just in a tube, and I'm going in the air, and this is crazy, and I'm safe, and I'm going to get home really fast. It blows my mind. It takes a lot of knowledge to be able to create something. Bridges are another thing. Kind of fascinate me. How can they span so much and hold so much weight? See, that stuff takes knowledge, but there are things that take wisdom, and setting up rhythms and cycles for everything to work in. That doesn't just take knowledge, it takes knowledge and wisdom. And when God was creating these things, these cycles, it takes wisdom. And he knew, he had an intent in mind. Like if there's nothing there and he's going to create this world, he has a purpose for why he's doing what he's doing. He has an intent, because when people build and when you create, you have an idea of what you want it to look like, and you want to know the intent of that one day we're going to be enjoying this table, or one day we're going to be enjoying this software, or one day, whatever. But in the building phase, in the thought processes, you do have an idea. The other day, my daughter and I were riding around town, and she was on her phone. I won't tell you which daughter it is to save her the embarrassment, but I just took her to college. And as we're riding around, all of a sudden she just gets so excited. She's like, yes, woohoo! I was like, man, she must have got some great news. Maybe got a grade in from school or something. I said, what are you so excited about? She said, I just created a watermelon. Yeah, that's what I said. What? And she's on this app, this game, where the object is to create a watermelon. Things fall, and you have to arrange it, and I don't know, anybody plays, I've never seen it before. But she was so excited, and like, I'll be super proud of her, because she just created a watermelon on this game. And I'm like, wow, good job. Now let's get to school and make some good grades, right? You got the watermelon down. So we're driving a couple minutes, and I'm thinking, I thought, that's exactly, I told her, I said, that is exactly what the creators of that app thought in their mind before it even existed. They wanted someone to be playing it and get so excited that they created a watermelon and it make them feel so valuable because you created a watermelon that you want to keep playing. And there you are, you're making more watermelons. Right? You just did, because when there's a creator, you have something in mind at what you want to do and accomplish when it is created and when it is in force. And in wisdom, God not only gave us, the physical things that we see, but he also gave us structures because he has an intent. He's the wise creator that created with a purpose in mind, knowing that if we went according to his rhythms and cycles, that it would best lead to human flourishing. But if we ignore that, meaning we would ignore his wisdom, then we set ourselves up as our own God. We're going to do our own thing. And then, well, practically, you don't ever, wisdom will always trump us. We will never trump God. So I see it like this. We know it didn't happen like this, but nothing's ever happened before. God's by himself. He's there, and he's got a whiteboard. He's about to create the world. And he's like, okay, day one, you know how we doodle. We create things. We're doodling. We're drawing pictures and things. And he's like, this is what I want. Day one, all right, that looks pretty good. Let's go to day two. It's like day two. He goes all the way to day 6, and at the end of day 6, everything's created. So he's like, what should I do? Should I just go back to day 1? We have a 6-day work week, and then we're going to go back to day 1 and repeat the whole thing again? He said, no. Here's what I want to do. I want to create a 7th day. And on the 7th day, we're not going to create anything. All we're going to do is we're going to exist. We're going to stop, and we're going to enjoy everything that I just created. Because if you read, it says, and he created this, and he looked at it, and he said, that is good. And on the 6th day, he didn't just say, that is good. The only day that he said, it is very good, as he looked at the beauty of what he created. He said, so I want my creation to have a day that they don't have to do something. Because in his wisdom, he knew that if we did not have a day to do that, we would drive ourselves in the ground. Genesis 2:1-3 says, thus the heavens and the earth were finished, and all the hosts of them. And on the 7th day, God finished his work that he had done, and he rested on the 7th day from all of his work. So God blessed the 7th day, and he made it holy. I mean, he set it apart. It's different. Because on it, God rested from all his work that he had done in creation. Oh, so it was rested. That's really weird, right? That God would rest. Why does God rest? He get tired? He's like, 6 days, whew, I need a break. No, we know that God does not get tired. So why would he rest on this day? It was an example for his creation, that his creation would also follow the example. It wasn't for him resting. It was a picture of the future for us to follow. He says he blessed it and he made it holy. Now, when he makes it holy, it just means he set it apart. That this one day, this one day is different than all the 6. He blessed it, he made it holy. This day is different than all the other days. Then he embedded it in the rhythm. Like, okay, this is what I want to do. Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Sabbath. And I know Sabbath was different. Sabbath is different. But go like this. One day, work 6, rest one day. It's because God in his wisdom was trying to protect us by creating a rhythm. We don't only see his wisdom in what he created physically, but the operation and the cycles and the rhythms that they operate within. Why do we need it? Where is the wisdom in this Sabbath? And the reason why is we have a tendency to fill ourselves up and to make ourselves so busy that we live on empty and not full. I like a balloon. Just think of a balloon. We have a tendency to puff, say yes, and fill our balloon so full that eventually it gets to capacity. It's like all it takes is one more thing, and you feel like you're on edge. It's like something happens, one more thing happens. I don't know what I'm going to do. Or, this is not going to be a good day, or whatever. And it's because we have lived life in a way that we haven't created any margin, and that we keep saying yes to. And God in his wisdom is like, I'm going to give you a day just to stop. That's what Sabbath means, stop, to cease, so that you can renew, so that you can fill back up. You don't have to do something. You don't have to produce anything. You just need to be. And it's difficult. It's difficult, and I'm going to speak for myself. It's difficult for me just to be. If I don't get things accomplished within a day, I feel like I lost a day. Or at least at times I have. Like I need to do something like, what did I do with this day? You're such a loser. Well, you didn't do anything. You didn't get anything accomplished. Because that's okay. You don't always have to be producing and doing things. I find myself sitting in waiting rooms and in waiting places, and I have to have something to babysit me. And I'm just saying, why don't we just think about this? Why don't we just look a little bit deeper and say, why is it that I constantly have to be doing something? Why is it that I can't just be still and rest and think about God, reflect upon the day, look around at the goodness of God, the beauty of God, and give thanks for Him? Why is it that I feel like it's difficult to do nothing? And it's really strange to me that our day and the day that we get to live in, we have more time-saving technologies than any other civilization ever. I mean, 50 years ago, you think about what they didn't have. I think 100 years ago, what we have and what we have should make us more efficient so that we can get what we do done faster, but we learn how to get it done faster so that we can do more. So the time that it saved us, we have a way of filling ourselves so that we're not still, we're not Sabbathing, we're not ceasing, we're not stopping. We're just doing it faster and doing more things faster. And you think about, all the time-saving things we have, like Amazon. Thank you, God. It's beautiful. Right? I mean, think about how much time. Like if you want to order something right now, you can order it right now, as you well know, and know you can have it tomorrow. But you don't have to go out in the store tomorrow. How much time? Is that an hour? I don't know. Is it an hour? Is it a half hour? You want makeup? Go get makeup. Go order makeup. You have tomorrow. You don't have to go to wherever you go to get your makeup. You get whatever you want. And it's saving us time. Grocery pickup. Anybody like grocery pickup? Grocery pickup looks great if you're at the right store. But if you're at Walmart in Lumberton and your wife put the order in Walmart in Beaumont, you're not going to Sabbath well. If you don't like grocery pickup, then you go in and get it yourself. You still have self-checkout. Some people like that, some people don't. It can be quicker. We have research at our fingertips. Some of you guys have never entered into a library. You don't have to. It's okay. Some of you guys remember what it's like to have to go get research or information from a library. Online bill pay, love it. Telemedicine, so helpful. How much time does that save you? There's group communications, right? That's supposed to save you time, that doesn't save you time because it adds more people to your group. Like GroupMe, Slack, and Band. How many wants to be in another group communication? Like if I have to be in another GroupMe, it's like, and you're able to communicate with more people in time, but it's like ding, ding, ding all day long. So I just ask you, and ask myself, how's your soul? Like, how's your soul? Are you at peace right now? Are you living right now from full? Or do you feel like you're just barely picking up some things to make it throughout the day or to get things done? How's your soul? Are you rested? Are you renewed? Do you appreciate right now the gift of this moment that you're in right now? You realize that this moment is a gift? Are you fully aware of the blessings that are surrounding you? Are you with people that you love and they're enjoying the moment? Or are you off into next week thinking about all the things that are going to have to be done and all that's happening? How's your soul? And God said, from the beginning, I'm going to create a beautiful world, but I'm also going to create a beautiful rhythm so that you can enjoy this world and so that you can flourish. And if you and cooperate with my wisdom, your life is going to flourish. It's going to be protected. Proverbs 4, 5, and 6 says, get wisdom, get insight, Don't forget. Do not turn away from the words of my mouth. Do not forsake her, and she will keep you. Love her, and she will guard you. Get wisdom. Get wisdom. I want to say, God yelling down at us like I would try to persuade my own children to make a right decision. Like, don't do it. Please do something different. Like God would say, get wisdom. Please get wisdom. Get insight, because it will protect you. And he's given these rhythms to protect us. Yet we still at times, and I find myself living cluttered and saying yes, too many yeses, which leads, brain fog and anxiety, being unsettled or rushed all the time, or feeling empty, or feeling like your relationships are very superficial and super shallow because there's just not enough time to sit there and to be still. And I'm in this, I wrestle with this. But from the very beginning, God modeled rest. And by wisdom, he gifted us a day, and he made it holy. He set that day. It's like he said, this is a day to stop and to cease, to be in joy and delight, rest and worship, to see the beauty that is all around you, so that you can be filled back up, so that you can enter into your week and live on full and approach all the other days. But it wasn't just for an example, because we know that in Exodus 20, it becomes a command. It's known as the 10 Commandments. And God spoke all these words saying, I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me. So the scenario is Israel has come out of Egypt, and they're in a wilderness, and God's going to give them a new start, like Israel 2.0. And says, I want you to start over. And here's guidelines and commands that if you live by, when you get into this new land, it's going to go better for you, and you're going to flourish. He said, don't have any other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself a carved image of any likeness or anything that is in heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water underneath. You should not bow down to them or serve them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children to the third and fourth generations of those who hate me, but showing steadfast love to thousands of those who love me and keep my commandments. I was like, God, are you serious about this? Is this a big deal to you? He said, yeah, it's a very big deal. I'm going to make it one of the 10. Verse 7, you shall not make or take the name of the Lord your God in vain. For the Lord will not hold him guiltless who takes his name in vain. Honor your father and mother. God, is that a big deal? Yes, that's a very big deal to me. That your days may be long in the land that the Lord your God is giving you. You shall not murder. God, is that a big deal as we go into this new land? Yeah, it's a very big deal. I'm going to put it in the 10. You shall not commit adultery. God, is that a big deal? Absolutely, that's a big deal. You shall not steal. You shall not bear false witness against your neighbor. Don't covet your neighbor's house. Don't covet your neighbor's wife. And then the rest of this is their culture, and we don't understand it. It says, don't covet the male servant, the female servant, ox, donkey, or anything that's in your neighbor's, or anything that is your neighbor's. That's the 10 Commandments. We say, God, are you serious about this? He said, yeah, I was extremely serious. And if you read the rest of it, actually, I'm going to read the rest of it. Let me just read their response to it. Exodus 20 and 18. To those operating the screens, because I did not do this on the first service, but Exodus 20:18 says, now when all the people saw the thunder and the flashes of lightning and the sound of the trumpet and the mountain smoking, the people were afraid and trembled, and they stood far off and said to Moses, you speak to us and we will listen, but don't let God speak to us lest we die. That comes right out of the 10 Commandments. And they just saw the interaction of God descending upon a mountain and the smoke and the trembling and all that. And they're like, wow, I'm in awe right now. Moses, you speak to me. And I just gave you the 10 Commandments, but what I purposefully did is left out one commandment. The fourth commandment is keep the Sabbath. Like, that's pretty crazy that God's going to think there's so much weight towards this commandment, whatever it means to keep the Sabbath, and he's going to put it right there by don't kill, don't steal, don't covet, don't make any idols before me. Keep the Sabbath day and keep it holy. It must be a really big deal to him. Verse 8 says, remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all of your work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, you or your son or your daughter, your servants, your livestock, sojourner who is within your gates. For in 6 days the Lord made the heaven and earth. Okay, so now Moses is reflecting back on the creation account and said, in wisdom, in 6 days he made the earth, the sea, and all that's in them, but he rested on the Sabbath day. It just simply means to have quiet after labor. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day, and he made it holy. So these are called the 10 Commandments, not 10 suggestions, right? And the intent of this is not to hold anybody down, but to push people up and to let human flourishing. That Israel, when you get into this new land, let these be your guidelines, because I want you to be successful. Now he said it again in Deuteronomy, and he said it a little bit differently. He added something to it. I'm going to read this, and you're going to hear it's like, this sounds just like what he said in Exodus. But there's something at the very end that's a little bit different that gives us a little bit of instruction about keeping the Sabbath. Deuteronomy 5, verse 12 through 15 says, observe the Sabbath day to keep it holy, set apart, as the Lord your God commanded you. 6 days you shall labor and do all of your work. But the seventh day is a Sabbath, a ceasing, Shabbat, to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work. You or your son or your daughter, or your male servant or your female servant, or your ox or your donkey or any of your livestock, or the sojourner who is within your gates. We're like, this sounds really familiar. Yeah, he said in the 10 Commandments, that your male servant and your female servant may rest as well as you. You shall remember, keyword, you shall remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt, and that the Lord your God brought you out from there with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm. Therefore, the Lord your God commanded you to keep the Sabbath. So what's different here is he said, yeah, I want you to rest. I set an example for that. But not only rest, I want you to remember. And here's what I want you to remember, Israel. Do you remember not too long ago when you lived in Egypt? And how difficult, and how you were complaining, and how they just forced you to do all this labor, and the more bricks you made, then the better it went for you. So you got your identity in what you did. So you had a great day making bricks. You're like really feeling good about yourself. People are speaking really well about yourself. You feel valuable. But here's what's happened. Here's what I want you to do. When you get to this new land, in fact, why don't we just start right now? Why don't we just take a day off? And I want you to remember what it was like to be delivered from the lifestyle. Delivered from what lifestyle? Delivered from always having to do. To getting your identity in what you produce. Because you're way more than just a human doing. That I created you in my image to be a being that is at peace. And you don't have to make certain grades, or you don't have to, it's not an excuse for not studying, just in case you're watching. You don't have to meet all the sales. You don't have to have the biggest, all those things. You don't have to do all those things to be significant or valuable to me. Because you're valuable. And here's what I want you to do, Israel. I want you to take a day off, and I want you to remember that you were a slave in the land of Egypt. I want you to live with an awareness of your deliverer, of your Savior. I want you to rest, but I want you to remember. In resting and remembering, I want you to be renewed. I want you to feel like you're being filled up again. Anxiety out, peace in. Rest in. I mean, Sabbath is way more, though, than just a day off, and I don't want to give that illusion, and I'm no expert on the Sabbath by no means. But Sabbath is not just a day off, right? It's not just a nap day, even though that would be really nice. It's not just go veg out, and it's not just binge on Netflix. It's not like a no-braining day. It is a restful day, but it's a restful day with intent. It's a restful day that I am doing this for the purpose of enjoying God's creation, because he said it was good. And he said it was very good. And I'm going to enjoy the creation, but at the same time, I'm going to remember who the Creator is. And I'm going to remember who my Savior is. And I'm going to remember who my deliverer is. So through all these things that I experience in this Sabbath day, I want it to fill me up. It's a rhythm to help you live out a fullness and not emptiness. In a quiet instead of just clamor and noise. Delight over distraction. Gratitude over the things that are around you, opposed to greed, always wanting something more. contentment over want. That is the rhythm of renewal that God, from the beginning of creation, established for human flourishing. And there was a lot of conflict in Jesus' day that Jesus would heal somebody on the Sabbath day, and people would get all sideways over it and confront Jesus. Like, why are your disciples doing this? They're not supposed to be doing this. And there's Jews today. You go look at documentaries that actually go into Hasidic Jews' homes, and guys sitting there for Sabbath, and they're not turning on a light because they think it's work. They're doing all their baking prior to sundown on Friday because they're not going to work. And I'm not saying, look, if that's for them, that's fine. But Sabbath is not wooden. There's intent there. And Jesus came back to the people and said, you're getting caught up in all of these details, like, can you pluck a hair on the Sabbath? How far can you travel on the Sabbath? Can I light a fire on the Sabbath? You're losing the intent of this. The intent is do something that you enjoy. That's legal. Do something that you enjoy. That rest fills you. That reminds you of my goodness. That you enjoy others, or you enjoy the creation that I've created. So his response in Mark 2:27, he says, the Sabbath was made for man. I only understood this a few years ago. The Sabbath. It's like, here's the Sabbath, and it is your gift. And I'm gifting you a day to do nothing so that you could rest and renew and have joy and delight. But at the same time, it points you to what the future will be like. This is incredible to me. That if I Sabbath well, if I stop and cease and I'm renewing and I'm being connected to God in relationships, if I'm Sabbathing well, what that is doing, and I'm feeling peace and joy and experiencing peace and joy, is it's giving me a picture of what God intends the world to be like. I'm just tasting it. One day. Then all the other days, it's like, well, where's that taste again? It's just a taste, just a taste. It's like vacation. You go on vacation, and you're on the beach. There's nothing in the world wrong, right? You just toes in the sand. It's beautiful. It's like, this is heaven. This is wonderful. You're not thinking about anything else, just in the moment. And then something in the back of your head says, but in 3 days, you're going back to hell. Not that bad. 3 days, you're going back to the rat race. 3 days, you're going to be fixing broken things, returning calls and emails, feeling like you don't have enough time in the day. And that vacation is just and then you leave it, but you remember that was a great taste. When you look at pictures, like, that was such a great vacation. I loved it. But what Sabbath is a day of the week to be a taste of what every day of our week will be like in the renewal of all things. Look in Colossians 2:16 through 17. It says, therefore, let no one pass judgment on you in questions of food and drink. They were like saying, you can't drink this, and this isn't kosher and all that. Or with regard to a festival, or a new moon, or don't let anyone pass judgment on you in question about Sabbath. These what? This food, these laws, this Sabbath is a shadow of the things to come. But the substance belongs to Christ. And what he's saying here is that these things are to remind us and to point our heart to what it will be like. But we have the real thing in Jesus. We find our rest in Jesus. I love what Walter Brueggemann said. He said, people who keep Sabbath, they live all 7 days differently. People who keep Sabbath live all 7 days differently. So in my remaining time, I'm going to go through some practicals. And that was the vision. I just wanted to establish that during creation, in wisdom, God created these rhythms for us, and that we can break them, but they'll break us. But if we live according to them, we're going to live a much more flourishing life, because that how God has set things up. He set one time to be holy and different. So that was the vision. And here's the practicals. As some of you guys may say, well, how in the world am I going to put a whole day of doing nothing? I've got too much to do. I don't have enough time to do Sabbath. It's like, yes, that's the problem. That's where we've got ourselves into. We don't have time to stop. In fact, for some of us, it caused a lot of stress to think about Sabbathing because we feel like, well, we have a biblical, it's not a, I'm going to say, you know, it's the heart of what God wants to do for us. We know it's there, but in doing it, how do I work this out? So I'm going to say wrestle with it. Wrestle with it. I've got to wrestle with it. Where does this fit in my schedule? Because I could do it on a Sunday, but I'm up here by 7:45, 8 on a Sunday without my family. I'll get home at 2 o'clock today. About 2 o'clock, we'll sit around the table. It'll be the first time that I have interaction with my family. We'll eat a meal. I'll jet off and take a nap, pretty long nap. Then I'll get up and we'll do something together. It's like, is that really a Sabbath? So I'm trying to wrestle with this. Or would it work best for my family that on Friday sundown to do Sabbath from sundown to sundown on Saturday? Or as the Jews do, the first 3 stars closes out Sabbath. I don't know, I'm trying to figure it out. And the reason why is because we live in a hectic schedule. I mean, it's not just me, not us, but I mean, we're busy. So where does this fit in? But what I wanted you to do, see the vision of God, that he would say, I'm gifting you this so that you can flourish, so that you can live life on full, not live stressed out, crammed, cluttered, brain fog, anxious. How am I going to get all this stuff done? But to live from a place of quiet, place of rest. That's how do we do this? Here's some ideas. Here's some things that you can do during Sabbath. Feasting. Enjoy food. Enjoy lots of it. Enjoy food with people. Read scripture. Reflect on a psalm. Sing. Serve somebody. Nap. Have time with family and friends. If you're a reader, get an Eno. Go find 2 trees and read. If you don't want to be with people, go time alone and walk around the block by yourself. If you love people, walk around with people. Come up with a gratitude list. If you like to garden, go pick weeds. If you don't like to garden, don't pick weeds. It'll ruin the Sabbath. Walk around the neighborhood, exercise. My daughter asked me this morning, and she left. She said, Dad, I'm about to go run. Can I run on the Sabbath? It's like, if you're Forrest Gump and you love to run, go run like the wind. Go renew yourself. What is it? What is it? What is it? You like to paint? You like to listen to music? You feel close to God when you listen to music? Maybe when it gets a little cooler, we can go outside and hike. Find a trail, ride a bike, cycle, something. What is it? Renewed. But in that renewing, let it push you to the Creator. So, Jefferson Bethke was one of the persons that I listened to on this, and he had a prayer that he does with his family to kick off Sabbath. And for him, he said that they've always been doing this for his children. They see this as normal, and Sabbath is one of the best days of the week for them, which is amazing that they started that and they established that. But here's a prayer, and he says he has his family, as they sit around the table, they'll light a candle because they want to give worth to this and value to it, and then put their hands up like in a posture of receiving, and they will say, they will repeat after him, I'm not what I do. I'm not what I have. I'm not what other people say about me. I am the beloved of God. There is nothing I can do to cause God to love me any more or less. May this day bring rest to my heart and home. May the grasp of temporary things be loosened and the eternal be weighted. May God's word feed me and his spirit lead me this day and into the week and the life to come. Beautiful. Beautiful. So, would you close your eyes right now? Would you put your hands, palms facing up in a receiving posture? Would you, on Sabbath, repeat this after me? I'm not what I do. I'm not what I have. I'm not what other people say about me. I am the beloved of God. There is nothing I can do to cause God to love me any more or any less. May this day bring rest to my heart and home. May the grasp of temporary things be loosened, and the eternal be weighted. May God's word feed me, and his Spirit lead me this day and into the week and life to come.